Get these slides pulled up. Let's make sure we're working as we're supposed to be. See people are joining in. If you can hear me and see me clearly, can you give me a thumbs up in the chat or just let me know? We've been having some technical difficulties lately in the last couple of webinars, so I want to make sure. Awesome. Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you, Jason. Awesome. Okay, cool. That's great. It looks like everybody's found the chat too, which is awesome. All righty. Good stuff. All right, so let's give everybody just a second to join in. There's always a few stragglers that come in and, they miss the first couple of minutes where I talk about some of the housekeeping stuff, and then I'll get questions in about 10 minutes for the same stuff. So let's give people a second, go to the bathroom, grab a coffee. While we wait, where is everybody tuning in from today? And, is there anybody who's left early for Memorial Day weekend and they still have to tune in from their work? Philadelphia, NYC.
There's a few people here, I know.
It's awesome. You got some fans?
I don't know if they're fans or I hope not enemies.
That's great. All right, Maddie from Texas. Nice. That's where I'm based out of Austin, so that's good to see a fellow Texan. Peru.
Wow, we got someone from Peru. That's awesome.
Great. Yeah, go Chiefs. Hey, Gina, I went to Texas Tech, same age as Patrick Mahomes, and so the Chiefs are my I call them my AFC team. My AFC team, because I'm a Boys fan at heart, but got to root for Mahomes. All righty, so let's go ahead and we can go ahead and get started. So hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of the AI Success Series, AI Marketing Strategies for Multi-Location Growth in 2025. My name is Justin Meredith. I'll be the host moderator for today, and I'm really pumped for today's discussion because we are going to be digging into all sorts of amazing topics and talking points from AI, local search, and we're going to cover some different marketing strategies as well today with our awesome guest speaker, who I'll introduce in just a moment. But before I bring him in or formally introduce him, let's go through some quick housekeeping items. So luckily, most people here seem to have found the chat, which is great. So if you want to come in and say hi, we're wanting to make this a conversation between us and you guys. So please feel free to offer your thoughts, ask your questions in the chat. We want to hear from you. If you are tuning in from Australia or the UK, you may be watching a rebroadcast of this. If that's the case, you could still jump in the chat because we have people in the background as well who are going to be answering questions. So don't feel like you can't be a part of the conversation. Additionally, check out the Docs tab, which should be right next to the chat tab. And there we've got some just related resources to help you further your learning. I think we've got an on-demand webinar from last month, which was really awesome, was one that we did with Steve Wiedemann, where we broke down one of our most recent data reports where we analyzed, I think it was like over 150,000 businesses. And we found their average number of reviews, how often are businesses responding to reviews or asking for them, what are the average review counts for the different industries, where business is getting reviews. All of this data, we broke it down and provided it in a great report. And then in that webinar in the Docs tab, I sat down with Steve Wiedemann and we kind of dug through the data. We've also got some new information about some great new Birdeye features, which I'll probably talk about a little bit later on, maybe towards the end of today's call. And then some blogs. And then you can also follow us on LinkedIn, where we post all of our updates and helpful content. You can learn about the speakers in the speakers tab in the kind of the top leftish middle part of your dashboard. And then lastly, just a heads up, you will receive a link to the recording of this call. So don't worry if you have to jump off early or if you lose connection, you'll be able to get the full discussion. Usually that email goes out about 24 hours after the webinar. So about this time tomorrow, you'll get a link with the recording link. And so it should be good to go there. Great. Now that we've got that out of the way, let me go ahead and introduce you to today's guest speaker. Now, if you could please join me in welcoming Steve Estevez. Steve is the VP of Marketing over at Durham Care Management. Steve, thank you so much for coming. I'm really happy that you're here. I'm really interested in hearing what you have to say when it comes to the topic, but how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Justin, for having me.
It's awesome. So before we jump into all these great topics of AI marketing, and we'll even cover some of the recent updates that we were seeing from Google. Can you give us a quick overview of your role at Derm Care, and what the company does? What are your responsibilities? What's your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so Derm Care Management is a dermatology practice management company. Uh, the company was founded late 2016, early 2017, with 6 initial practices in South Florida. Since then, Derm Care has grown to over 94, 95 locations, depending when you're counting, across 5 states. So we're currently in North Carolina, Virginia, Florida, Texas, California. I know I'm missing one. And yeah, we manage over 45 to 50 different dermatology, med spa, plastic surgery brands. We also have a clinical research arm, and also do pathology as well.
That's incredible. So this is why I'm really happy that you're on today's discussion, because you are going to be able to give us multiple perspectives. You can give us the 95, 94 plus location perspective. You can give us the perspective of just one or two brands. I mean, the fact that you're managing that many brands over that many locations is wild.
Yes,
And so,
it's great.
for you all in the audience, if you are maybe a smaller business and you're only managing one or two, we're going to have some insights for you. And if you're a multi-location brand, or maybe you're an agency and you've got a lot of clients that are managing a lot of locations, a lot of what we're going to be talking about will be applicable for everybody here. And so when it comes to when it comes to managing that many brands and that many locations, what are some of the things that really kind of, I guess, oh man, what about we're going to talk more about the specific challenges, but I guess what I'd like to figure out is maybe more about the industry, because with healthcare and dermatology, there's a lot of nuance there that maybe, folks from other industries may not have to deal with. What are some of those nuances with healthcare?
Well, specifically dermatology is, and if you're talking strictly dermatology outside of aesthetics, and thinking about just commercial insurances, including Medicare, you're working out of your very optional type of healthcare vertical, in the sense that your patient base has many options usually, because their insurances may allow that. So in that sense, you're really trying to stand out in some way or another, and that in and of itself brings a lot of nuance, right? So whereas if you're a PCP, or even in ortho, or many other healthcare verticals, you're not necessarily competing at such a degree as dermatology, especially when in highly competitive areas or cities like you find in South Florida. So I think that is one major challenge, especially when dealing with multiple brands and trying to scale each one independently and have them perform as well as some of your other brands. So that one is the initial
That's interesting.
challenge.
Yeah. And I guess that is true. I guess nowadays, the society has grown, right? But I guess if you think about it from 50, 40, 30 years ago, the amount of options for healthcare were a lot smaller. And now people have enough options to shop around. And so they actually have a choice, and they can actually start to weigh the pros and cons and look at different practices and evaluate which one they think is the best for them. Whereas maybe before it was like, okay, this is the only dermatologist in 30 miles. So I guess that's where I'm going.
That's still the case, though. I don't want to say like that is not something that occurs, especially in rural areas. I mean, dermatology in and of itself is incredibly hard to get into. So there is a shortage of dermatologists in the United States, especially, as I said before, rural areas. But for derm care, where we practice most often, it's big, it could either be metro areas, it could be big cities, sometimes densely populated cities. So you could find yourself with 5 to 10 different practices in a 3-mile area. So that's where you have to really stand out and know how to position yourself and your messaging.
Yeah. And that variance also adds to the complexity or the challenge, right? So,
Correct. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because there's a whole lot of elements to this. I'd be curious to see what the other what the people in the audience, what industries they're focused in, or maybe if if you're an agency, what industry has given you the most trouble, or if you're dealing with a lot of locations or just a couple. So feel free to let us know. That'll also help us figure out if you know what rabbit holes we want to go down here today.
Yeah.
But this brings up a good point that I wanted to talk about, and that's what the consumer behavior and the shift in their expectations. So sort of like how for healthcare patients and dermatology patients, they're starting to get more options, and there's more you know there's a little bit more competition in that way. There's you know their expectations and what they expect from a business as a whole, not even just healthcare,
Yeah.
has changed. And so we could talk about that for a little bit. But what about, in your experience, what are some of the shifts that you've seen in how patients either find a dermatology provider or, if you want to expand it to just businesses in general as well? What are those kind of shifts in consumer behavior and expectations have you seen?
So we'll break it down. So expectations, look, expectations are not going to shift too much because you're talking about human nature. So the expectations usually are you want to find healthcare practices or a clinic that's usually close to where you live. So accessibility is key.
Mhm.
You want to hopefully get in as quickly as possible. So availability is another one that you're expecting there to be generally like availability within the week that you're searching for them or within the next week. So those two things are basic needs or expectations that almost every consumer will have. I think that the shifts in behavior tend to come from how technology has influenced consumer behavior. So, for example, Amazon Prime has made us get so comfortable with just shipping being available like same day or next day. That's a
Yeah.
key one. But the way that e-commerce works and how you intuitively navigate their app, uh, patients and consumer want to find that same level of ease when they go to their dermatology website or when they're checking your, let's say, mental health clinic's website. So they want to have that sort of ease that they're already accustomed to when they go to Amazon or when they're scrolling through any other e-com platform like Shopify or what have you. So those type of behaviors do come in. When you're talking about discovery, wow, that's changed so much in the last year. It's crazy because uh, I started doing this 7, 8 years ago, and 7 and 8 years ago, Google, as you know, search engine just dominated. In the last year, 2 years, as your millennials start going into their 40s, right, 45, they start needing dermatologists and all of these. They start needing dermatologists way more often. So they're now it's an age where they're used to searching on Instagram or TikTok. They're used to getting more authenticity out of the brands that they deal with. It's a savvier consumer. So you're going to have to rely more on reviews, especially before and afters. If you're an aesthetic clinic, there's going to have to be some proof that you provide, testimonials, because that is going to be key, especially with your consumer that's used to going on Reddit forums to see what other people are saying about questions that they have. So when they land on, let's say, your real estate website, they want to see other happy clients speaking well about you when they go on those websites. If they're landing on your medical spa website or brochure, whatever it is, they want to see other people speaking well about your providers or a good amount of before and afters. Same thing for social media. You want to be able to provide social proof. Authenticity today is so key, especially in this AI age. So discovery behavior has changed in that route. And then also the way that Google is delivering information about practices, not only Google, but also the advent of people using ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen those platforms explode in
Yeah.
popularity.
Yeah.
And, right now Google is still the king. I think they process billions of searches a day,
Yeah.
but the rate at which the usage is going up for these other tools is ridiculous. Like in 1 year, between March 2024 and March 2025, Perplexity went from 10.07 million monthly users to 107 million. And
And
in just 2 months between February or November and February, ChatGPT went up another 100 million. It's or 300 million. It's crazy.
yeah, and I think it's good to add a layer to that, that these aren't the only places. Like, let's say someone starts their search on Google, or they start their search on Perplexity or ChatGPT. There's going to be other touch points, right? They
Mhm.
are going to go to your website. They are going to check your reviews. They are going to go on Yelp, especially when you're talking about high ticket items. In dermatology, it's a little different depending if you just focus on the medical side. You're really focusing on, hey, how close are they to me? Do they have availability? And are their reviews really good? And do they take my insurance, right? These are very, can be simple questions, but you kind of, you get that idea. Usually closeness to you is a big factor in people deciding whether or not they want to go
Yeah,
to you. Once you get out of
proximity.
5 mile area, it gets tricky. But if you're
Mhm.
talking about aesthetics, you're talking about plastic surgery, you're talking about high ticket items, people will do way more research than they ever did before, and your digital assets need to speak well about the services you provide in order to convince a person that you are their choice.
Mhm. Yeah, and what I something that what you were talking about earlier, especially with the Amazon effect of people just expecting things much faster. I think
Yep.
that's starting to see we're starting to see legs with that grow in the search aspect. People are wanting
Yep.
answers and not just 10 links that they have to click through, and they click through the link and then they have to find the answer from after clicking the link, and it just takes a long process. Now people are looking for the answers that they want, and they want to keep going. And
Yep.
that's the cool thing about like these Perplexities and Chat GPT searches, is that they run the search and they can kind of do that clicking on the blue links and looking for that information for you and then present it for you.
Yep.
But what's really interesting is the way at which that if to me it feels like there are people, business or consumers in general, maybe, patients as well. Um, they're going to be much more informed by the time they get to your website because of this. Whether they're looking at social
100%.
media, and so
Yeah.
when you're formatting your website, it's almost you want to format for conversion, because
Yep.
those folks are going to be much more educated on who you are and what you do by the time they get to your website.
100%. 100%. You touched on key areas there. I know we'll speak more down the line on how social media has become a major source of research, right? So 100% your website will still be a major factor for your conversions.
Yeah.
And I don't want to minimize that, because yes, it's super important that you do regular searches on ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and see how you're standing against your competition. So, in my case, maybe you want to do best dermatologist in X city, right, on ChatGPT, and you might be appearing within the first 5 results or what have you on these LLMs. But then let's say I click on that link, and my expectation of I want to be treated by, let's say, for personally, or for another patient, they want to be treated by a luxury provider, or they think that because of the search, that they are expecting a luxury type of website, a luxury type of experience, or at least an intuitive experience, and they're met with a site that hasn't been updated in 10 years, written in HTML in a format that the pictures aren't even coming up very well.
Yeah.
That will immediately change that expectation, right? So you want to make sure that you're hitting your message on all fronts. So if your message is luxury, if your message is convenience, if your message is I am top of the line, your digital assets need to speak that same language. And everything you put out there should have some sort of focus on making sure that it aligns with the type of message you're putting out there.
Yeah. And I think that ties to the experience and the interactions you have with people. So whether it's they leave a review, how do you respond? Whether they're messaging with with your business or your practice on your
Yep.
website through a chat bot, all of those interactions or social, comments and social posts, all of those things need to be tightened up and consistent with the brand voice. And
Yes.
it needs to be fast is not a good word for it, but you need to be responsive, because that's what people are expecting. If someone's, messaging you like, hey, are you guys open until 8 o'clock? That's probably because they're planning on coming to your business at some point before 8 o'clock. And so you want to be quick with those responses, and you want to make sure that those responses are on brand and consistent.
Yep.
And I feel like that's a growing expectation from consumers is when I message a business, I expect to have a response, or,
It's always been, I agree.
having that kind of interaction.
It's speediness. Customer support is, I know for a lot of you guys here, it's tough. Customer support is one of the toughest things to really, especially when you're dealing with thousands and thousands of calls or messages or texts or DMs. But that part right there, you hit it on the head of the nail, which is getting back to people is so key. And really that I would say, once you nail down distribution of your message, and by distribution, it could be influencers, it could be multiple Instagram or TikTok accounts, however you distribute your message. Once you start getting those first floods of queries or questions, what time are you guys open? How much does this cost? This or the other. Make sure you can field that. Otherwise, there's a saying, you can't market a bad product.
Yeah.
That if the business side of the business side of your business is not good, the amount of marketing that you put into it it's really not going to matter.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's something that I always try to remember to have as like a cliffhanger, or not a cliff note. I mean, is whenever we're talking about, when we have webinars about like, here's how you can generate more reviews and improve your star rating. The cliff note for that is always like, first, like, we're assuming you have a great service and business. It's just not being reflected correctly online, because that's first and foremost. Like, you can't polish it. If it's not a good product or not good, if the negative reviews are warranted, then you should be fixing those versus trying to generate more good reviews first, and that will come in hand. So Robert in the comments was saying, when looking at investing time in AI search engines, it's critical to, that your current customer profile to see if they view AI search as a trusted source of info. And I think that's a great point. That's also a good tie into social as well, of just like, you need to know where your customers are.
I agree with you, Robert. And I think from the get, you have to have your audience set before. First of all, you have to have the message. What is your brand message, right? And then that really determines who your audience is or who you're trying to target. So I agree. Always have your audience in mind. The key issue is when you're being foisted AI, when AI is just being introduced to the consumer without really their knowledge. And we'll get into that with social media. But AI overviews from Google was a great aspect of this. No one asked for it, yet they launched it. So despite you wanting it to be that, you got it. So I agree with you that you need to see who your customer is, whether or not they trust those. But generally speaking, people that are used to use a platform, now let's take away, the LLM platforms. Let's just say Google or Bing or what have you. If you're generally used to using these things and a new feature pops up that you never asked for, you can't do anything about it. It's just there. So you kind of have to accept it and play by those rules in a way. And that's happening across everything, by the way. And I know we're going to get more into that topic now.
Yeah, and that's a great point when it comes to the overall approach to marketing online. I mean, in the digital world, in the digital space, and this has been happening in the SEO space for a long time, is you just have to react to whatever updates Google does to their algorithm and figure out how to make your business work with it. And so, it's now, like, today is probably the most important it's ever been to be agile and flexible when it comes to your marketing strategies. I mean, we were just talking before we jumped on this call, was how fast these AI updates are coming. Robert says it, be nimble. And we were just talking about all the Google updates that were just announced at I/O 2025 this week, like crazy stuff. And it's like, all right, cool. Well, I'm pretty sure Claude has a thing today too, where they're making more announcements, and OpenAI will have one later this week. It's just nonstop. And so in the world of digital marketing, AI marketing, you have to be nimble, just as like Robert was saying. So looking at some of these challenges, and we've already kind of discussed a lot of these, but to drill into a little bit more detail, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing in this era of AI? Whether it's trying to stay competitive on Google or these other platforms, what are those big marketing challenges? Maybe even specifically for a multi-location business when it comes to scaling, because I think
Yeah,
that adds a whole nother layer of complexity of just
it
like
does.
for every location, it's a slew of other channels that you have to worry about. So what are some of those challenges?
The main challenge is how you structure data on your website um, to respond to these AI search queries. You're really talking now to AI crawl bots, whereas before you were talking to consumers or trying to inject your pages with keywords. Um, AI has has changed the game so much that you can directly answer questions on your websites now in conversational format. And that will have a larger impact on your search results, especially on AI search, than it did before. That's one key part of that. The other part is making sure that you start distributing the data of your practices or your business across way more sources than you ever did before, because these LLMs are relying on third-party data in order to provide the best results to their searchers. And it's somewhat easy right now to view that because ChatGPT will provide you the sources that it used. Gemini Deep Research will do that. Perplexity will do that. It will actually give you the links of where they're generating their sources from. So it's more important than ever that each business you have, especially if you're dealing with multi-brand, multi-location enterprises, that you're doing that for every single business. So in some cases, it's 50 websites. Birdeye does this really well, where it helps you with listings management across, I believe, anywhere between 80 to 100 different sites. But you could start there, but it's going to take a
Thinking
little
more,
bit
yeah.
more than that, especially on your specific industry websites. And so the more you distribute that message across multiple sources, the better you will get at getting on those initial search results from these LLMs. And remember that you can now be way more conversational in your content and feeding content to your website, or feeding new data to these websites is going to be critical as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And it reminds me of something that I heard in a previous webinar with Steve Wiedemann, who is one of the best local SEO experts that I've had the pleasure of working with. He was saying that now it's not just about stuffing keywords into your blogs or doing the traditional just SEO hacks and tricks and things. But now it's really about developing a really strong, authentic brand. And it's not just on your
Yeah.
Google business profile, it's not just on your website, but it's everywhere, just like you were saying. Because these, especially, as Google gets more advanced and they're looking at things a little bit differently, it's kind of the same way that these LLM search engines like ChatGPT search and Perplexity are doing. They look at everything. They look at social, they look at you know, who are the top 10 best restaurants in Austin, Texas lists,
Yeah.
and even
Yeah.
non-linked mentions of your brand. Your overall
Yeah.
brand strength and prominence is going to be so much more important. And kind of like with Robert, who just commented, he goes, "I've never been a fan of blogs in his vertical, which is pest control, but AI search crawl bots, look at well-ranked blog content when
Yeah.
producing results." And because
Or
that's exactly right. It's like,
I'll,
hey,
I'll
these
hit this
guys
on.
are experts. Yeah.
I agree. Let's say that you're ranking because of something that has nothing to do with your blog, right? You're ranking because, let's say the LLM is getting information from Yelp that you are the person to go for pest control. Great. Well, now the LLM is going to look at your website and see if there's information on any of your blogs that might answer directly the search query that's being provided by the user. So that's the key there, right? So even if you're not a fan of blogs, let's say that you just want to provide us some information on a specific topic. Once the LLM determines you are the person to go to, it then uses the crawled information to be able to deliver that to the user.
Yeah, exactly. Laura is asking if we have any data on how many people are using AI for search compared to Google searches. And I think we had a couple of chart or a couple of numbers pulled up. Here, I can go back. Oh, I just took it off. So Laura, here we can see like the amount of growth for monthly users on Perplexity is growing exponentially. Same thing with ChatGPT. But also, just a heads up, Google is still the king. And based on some of the updates they made, they're wanting to stay the king. So they manage
Yeah,
like I think they manage 16.4 billion searches per day. And
yeah.
80% of that's not even in the United States. It's insane. But what's also important is that this stuff is, does that
It's
mean they're
improving,
just doing
and
searches? Yeah.
yeah, and I want to say that, especially in a competitive market like dermatology and aesthetics, market share, if you improve 2, 3, 5%, that's a huge hit. That's a huge gain in your revenue on a yearly basis. You're talking about high ticket items that are like 4, 5, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 per patient. So improving 5% over your competition, 10% over time on your competition, just because you added a bit more effort on these other platforms will and will change your perspective on why should I pay attention to these little things. So I think that is where why the shift is so important, because it's doing these little things that will get you that additional business, that especially in this economy, that additional.
Yeah. And it's like you said, it's those little wins and they stack up, and Lauren's
Oh, for
asking,
sure.
does that mean these people are just doing searches or just doing that for writing content? I'm not 100% sure. I think the numbers are a little different because with the chat GPT and perplexity numbers, those are the monthly users. So that could just be all
Well,
of them.
I'll
But
give you something else to Laura. Okay, so Instagram is a really good example. Instagram is a huge search engine now, believe it or not. So is Facebook. Instagram has been now using for a long time, but now they really have launched kind of a resource that's super incredible. If you go right now on your Instagram and you click the search button and you search for your business, let's say you put in the word pest control, mental health, in my case, Botox, dermatology, it will do a few things. The first things you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of the reels or posts with the caption written on the post with the actual words you're searching for. So just from the categorization of visual assets, that's huge, because now you know that your grid post that you're going to put, your grid cover, sorry, that you're going to put on your reel should have some sort of wording that goes with either your industry or the service that you're providing. That in and of itself will help you on search results for Instagram. Okay. Not only that, in discovery, let's say that someone interacted with a Botox or a med spa or a dermatology ad, right? Now, because Instagram has categorized your grid covers, it knows that it can feed them your account as a suggested account, because it's now categorized your account for that. Additionally, it's also doing a transcription of your audio. So what you're talking about on your audio is 100% categorizing your account for potential followers. So whether you want to focus on, let's say, ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, that's a whole other issue right now that's happening on social media, where a lot of conversions are happening on a daily basis across an insane amount of industries.
yeah, I think you're spot on with that. And, it's interesting that you know, what I've also been noticing is people aren't even really, using Google instead of, or using ChatGPT search or Instagram instead of Google. They're using it in addition. It's a supplemental, like they're almost using it in tandem. What I found for myself personally is I'll use Perplexity, ChatGPT search, whatever
Yeah.
one I feel like works best. And then whenever they give me the answer, give me the couple of options that I'm interested in, I'll go to Google and just go to those people directly. I'm almost using Google more as just a direct highway to the places I want to go.
Yep. Yep.
versus less discovery search nowadays.
Same. Now, because I mean, Google has the best product out there. It's called Google Maps. Okay,
Yeah.
so as soon as you search perplexity, the second thing you're doing is inputting that information into Google now. And
Mhm.
right, as soon as you do that, you're doing that maybe for various reasons, maybe maps, maybe to see their reviews, maybe to see what you could find on Reddit or what have you. But most often, if you've already decided, you're going to input that information into maps. And right away, you're going to see reviews from map search results. You're going to do another touch point. So I agree with you. I don't, right now, you know how easy it is to flip between apps? It's so easy. So you're starting things on one app, you're going to another one, and you're really doing 3, 4, 5, sometimes 10 touch points before you actually take an action.
Yeah. And that goes back to just like customers, patients, consumers are much more educated by the time they get to your website.
Oh yeah.
So let's, and the last challenge I wanted to kind of just touch on before we jump into some of the things that you guys are doing over at Derm Care when it comes to actually using AI to help with your marketing efforts is these challenges just, as your business scales, these challenges scale. So if
Yeah.
you've got 10 locations, you've got 10 Google business profiles, you've got potentially 10 Facebook pages, 10 Instagram accounts, and then all the different listings. So if you're on ZocDoc, if you're on Angie's List, whatever it may be, that just gets multiplied.
Yeah.
And, to scale, kind of like we were just talking about with having, you want to have those authentic interactions, those personal interactions. You can scale that with AI and that makes it more efficient. But a lot of times the quality of those interactions can go down because it's templated or it's just standard, like, we're delighted that you came to visit us. It's the same, or the dreaded M dash, which is just a
Yeah, yeah.
fingerprint
Which is
for
crazy
Chat
that
GPT.
that became the thing, because I have been using dashes for so long, and
Oh
now I
no.
stopped using it because I think people, oh, he wrote that with ChatGPT.
A
Actually,
hundred
now
percent.
I'm more about I'm proud when I do grammatical errors, because now it's for sure he didn't
It's more
use AI.
human.
Yeah, it's way
Yeah.
more human.
Yeah.
And
It's
I'll talk about that as well, because that's going to be something you'll see more and more, which is people want a more personal approach to
yeah.
marketing and
So
everything. Actually,
so let's take a look at some of the things that you guys are doing, and just I want to get an idea of how you guys are using AI, and especially within healthcare, because there's so much nuance, and especially because you guys have so many locations and so many brands. I'm really interested in this, and I think this is going to apply even if you're not in healthcare. We do have a lot of healthcare folks here though today, just judging from the comments. But um, if while Steve's given his pieces here, if you guys want to jump in the comments and let us know if you're using AI for anything differently or some good pieces, I would love to get those tips from you guys. I want, I'm sure someone else in the comments would love to hear them as well. So, any advice or maybe, specific challenges or questions you may have, feel free to let us know. Awesome. All right. So Steve, so what are you guys working on right now when it comes to
so
AI
I'll
and
go
using it?
from general and won't be as specific, just because I think that the functionality is going to be key. But functional aspects of how we use AI, just not even we, but just in general in healthcare, AI scribes are incredibly important. I think that that is the number one major shift any clinic can do to improve patient satisfaction. Um, how much time does your provider take when they're writing notes manually? AI scribes have become so good at hearing two sides of a conversation and writing notes for you, that that is one of the biggest revolutions right now in healthcare. We've always had scribes, we've always had digital scribes, but the advent of the new AI scribes are huge. And I would suggest that people use these anywhere. Even if you're a med spa where you don't necessarily have to do huge notes because you're not dealing too much with insurances, I think AI scribes will definitely help you a lot in that aspect. Functionality wise, I would also say we use Line. Line is a really great platform as well for analyzing calls. So especially if you're in aesthetics, plastic surgery, dentistry, where phone call leads are super important. and for you to determine how that patient journey ends. Line has really helped us in identifying where the pain points are from the point that a patient calls to getting booked. What were the pain points? So it allows you to transcribe and really drill down from broad, like I'm talking about thousands of calls. You get to have insights, same day in 5 to 10 bullet points where you can take action that same day or next day in order to correct that. Birdeye, wow, you guys are incredible. So one of the issues with dealing with multi-brand and then multi-location enterprises is you actually need a platform that knows this industry. When I started working with Birdeye, you guys purposely built a platform that allows anyone from the admin level to manager level to practice level user to utilize the Birdeye platform for review gen, for review responses, for patient communication. And now we get to have an integrated view with AI of the insights at a broad scale. So if we generate 15 to 20,000 reviews on a yearly basis, I can immediately click 2 to 3 buttons right within that platform to generate insights and thematics that allow us to really drill down where we're having challenges at the practices, especially if you're collecting net promoter scores as well. So those 3 I would say are huge. And then there's more custom and proprietary tools that you want to use where you integrate AI into your processes. And we use anything from OpenAI assistants into integrating that into maybe chat features, or we'll use Google Cloud Console where you're integrating various versions of Gemini or STT, which is speech to text or text to speech cloud. So those are different things that you're seeing, but other huge advancements are obviously going to be in customer support. I think that's going to be, it's not going to be, it's already happening. And that's something that we're already seeing a lot of entrepreneurs out in the market, like taking advantage of this. You've heard the AI voices, but also chatbots on your website and what have you. I think customer support is the frontier where AI is just going to become ubiquitous.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And the AI scribes, it kind of reminds me of this voice in general, like even with the voice bots, that's a whole next level of AI capability. I mean, it's already here. Like, I mean, I use the Chat GPT advanced voice all the time. And these conversational AI bots, they're just getting better. Sarah, I would love to recommend Birdeye. When it comes to HIPAA compliancy, Birdeye's completely HIPAA compliant. We make sure that all of our models are completely, trained and the guardrails are within HIPAA, as well as the way we process and manage your data. It's all within, that kind of compliance. And maybe you could speak to that a little bit better later on, Steve, about that side
Birdeye
of it.
Birdeye has really cool chatbots. It's actually super useful with the way that you can integrate the FAQs. It's really good. I would also say, there's a lot of custom tools depending on what your appetite is, but when you're talking about HIPAA compliance, you want to make sure that you can get a BAA signed with these platforms, and most of them won't. Google Cloud will do BAA. They're actually one of the first that started doing with their Cloud Console. So there's ways you can integrate trained AIs into existing platforms. So whether you use like BotPress or I think Dialogflow also, but BotPress is one of them. But there's ways to integrate AI assistants, I would say, or trained AIs that are HIPAA compliant within another platform where the transfer of information is protected, but you're using another platform to maybe introduce an iframe into your website in order to make it HIPAA compliant.
Yeah, and there's, and I'm hoping we have enough time because there's some stuff that we've actually just released this week. I want to say, within the last 6 days that we just came out with. That's really cool when it comes to this sort of thing, especially when it comes to scaling your interactions with customers or patients while staying compliant, while staying on brand. And so that's the big key, is just you can tailor the AI to voice your business's brand consistently across every location. So let's see. I think
Well,
I'm looking at the
Evan
slides.
Johnson has a really good question here. What are actionable first steps for a business to start ranking on AI searches? This is an easy one, right?
Yeah.
Go on ChatGPT, search your industry. So industry, my city, whatever. Who is whatever, and what will come up is a whole bunch of results. What you'll get next is try to see where those sources are coming from. Usually it will tell you right there on ChatGPT. It will do the same on Perplexity. It will do the same on Cloud. Next, you got to figure out, okay, how do I start getting on these sites or third-party websites? There's also really good opportunities right now with local publications. These are huge. So local publications usually promote a bunch of their blogs that, for example, the Fort Lauderdale, whatever. And like the Sun Sentinel will do this, where they'll sell you spaces or blog, kind of like an advertorial blog on their website that's already ranking for ChatGPT in those areas. So as long as you can get one of those spots, that's a really great way to start ranking, right? But I think the first actionable step is start doing a few searches, see what comes up. Okay, what are they doing to rank there? And literally mimic that next day or start working on that so you start ranking there. But you'll start seeing what third-party sources come up.
Yeah. And one of the coolest things about using these LLM searches or search engines is you can ask it. So if you ask it for like, who are the best dermatologists in within 5 miles of me, it'll give you a list and you say, well, why did you choose those? And it'll tell you, it'll say, well, based on the reviews and
Yes,
and what other people
exactly.
are saying, it'll exactly tell you why it's giving you those recommendations. And you can click on those sources and citations and you can see those as well. Robert's saying PR agencies will see a huge increase in business as more
For
companies need
sure.
three-party. Yeah.
100%. You hit it right. You hit it on the nail. So before, if you didn't pay for PR, I mean, you could get really great rates with Cision, like 2,500 per brand or what have you, and get like 4 to 5 releases a year for that price, and immediately start, launching releases. But that's that's really good. That's really good advice.
Laura's asking, do you use AI tools to get new patients to book and show up for appointments from social ad campaigns?
Yes, we do. I want to discuss what these tools are. They're going to be ubiquitous, but yes, we do. We use two ways. So we've invested heavily on actual people responding to DMs because you will have a lot of folks asking about really specific questions on aesthetic information. So we found that it's way quicker to do it, where you could use AI bots like what's it called? ManyChat. It's really good. I love ManyChat, by the way. I think that that's really an amazing tool, but there's other ways that you can connect Instagram and Facebook's API to your own custom assistants, and they may be more suitable for what you're doing. Someone else asked, how do you prevent from someone breaking these tools? That is actually one of the best questions I've seen here, and I think the best thing you could do is actually oh wow, my computer's about to die. But yeah, I think that that having that strategy of AI and how it can help you book appointments, once you start going in that rabbit hole, it's going to help you a lot. Let me see if I
Oh
could
yeah.
connect my computer.
Yeah. And Aaron, to get to your point about, how do you make sure people don't try to break your chat? I would try to break it first. So when you're testing it over and over and over again, try to think of every which way you can prompt it to try to get a different. Yeah, Sarah right there. Honestly, I break it first. I mean, and that's the kind of the wild thing with this AI stuff is that a lot of these big, you know, landmark models like OpenAI, Gemini, Meta, they're building kind of out in public, and they'll invite people to try to hack it, and they'll try to, jailbreak the system and these things
Yeah.
because that's how they learn how to protect it. And so honestly, just try to break it yourself, and anytime you do, put that in the system prompt. And it's funny that you were talking about, you know, the ways you can kind of put in these different guardrails for chatbots and stuff, because that's actually something that Birdeye is that's the thing that we just launched, which is called Brand AI. And Brand AI allows you, and it's Brand AI and Industry AI. So now we essentially every Birdeye customer has its own custom LLM that they can tailor and train to their brand voice and give it certain guardrails to prevent it from using M dashes or using too many emojis or offering financial advice. And it can connect to your socials. It can help you respond to your DMs. It can help you respond to every review, and all of those interactions in that sort of a way. It makes it a lot easier, but also allows you to scale a much more personalized interaction across multiple locations and brands. You know what? I think I can actually. We're going to try this, so bear with us if this doesn't work.
We're going to do the share.
Just a simple. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to see if it works. But let me see. All right, so stop sharing that. I'm going to share this, and then if y'all could let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, I know it might be kind of small, so I'm just going to zoom in.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, cool. So essentially, with the new release, we've got something here. So right now I'm in the reviews tab of Birdeye, and this is where you can. I might have zoomed in too much. I can't see anything. So essentially, this is where you can tailor and personalize your brand, and you can prompt your personalized LLM to the things that you want to see. So, for example, this is for a very popular Italian restaurant known for its free breadsticks. It rhymes with Schmal of Martin. This is just our demo account. But when it comes to these AI prompts, this is where you can customize the exact rules that you want when it comes to responding to a review. So you can say for positive reviews, choose a simpler phrase like "we're delighted to" or "we're ecstatic to," help you, or whatever it may be, and it'll give you a live preview of exactly what that is. So if you want to have a brand voice that uses a lot of emojis, or that is way enthusiastic and just super positive, or maybe your brand is much more direct and no funny business, we're here to just help you and provide. Robert's asking, is Bird AI prompt engine reviewing prior responses to get a feel for the tone? So yes. So what you can actually do is you can give it your website URL, and it will analyze your website and pull in your brand voice. So you can specify your own brand voice. Like if you have a brand guideline, you can upload that as well for your tone, your personality, really all of those things. And tied in with industry. So if, for example, if you're in healthcare, it'll know that you're in healthcare, and it'll know to stay within these HIPAA guidelines. One of the things like for this, like, so if we're, with that very popular Italian restaurant, I could add a prompt that says like offer to-go breadsticks at the end of every positive, at the end of every response for positive reviews. So let's see. Sorry, I zoomed in a lot, so I think the windows are the spacing's a little weird. But let's just see what that happens. So yeah, so here's like, come back soon for more unlimited breadsticks, and you can add this stuff and you can personalize it. And what's cool is you can really get granular with it. So it's like for a 2-star review, I want to respond in this way, and I want to, provide our email address for them to contact us. Or for a very positive review, let's offer a coupon, whatever it may be. You can specify those things. And this is just for reviews, but you can also do it for stuff like social. And, so if we go here into social, we look at our AI prompts, and you can have specified social posts that, you can generate with AI based on your different locations. You can say, let's use British English, for our holiday posts. And, when you are asking it to create, so there's something that we've already had is just AI generated captions, but now you can start to fine tune that process and get more accurate, just more relevant social posts as well. And so there's a lot here, and it's really cool. But one of the other things you can do here, I wanted to show before we jump back in and we can answer the last couple of questions is, where is it? Here we go. Brand AI. So this is where you can add in more of your direct personality. So you can be authentic, you can be friendly, you can be professional, you can add your tone. And then this, and so you can also upload a PDF of your guidelines, a URL of your website, or you can just copy and paste a blog that you like, that you want the rest of your, your brand voice to kind of reflect. You can give it that as well. And then with the guidelines. So this is where I'm saying, don't use M dashes. And I might even put another one that says, no, really, I mean it. Don't use M dashes, because for some reason, ChatGPT is obsessed with it. It's crazy. But this is where you can do that. And so without having to go, and what I love about this is, yes, you can use ChatGPT to help you respond to your reviews. You can copy and paste those reviews into ChatGPT. You could do a whole spreadsheet of 1,000 of them, but you still have to go through those and pick it out and prompt the model to make sure that it responds the way you want, and use the copy paste the response into the review response in Google. It's a whole process. It does help you. It'll probably make things a lot easier as if you were to have to go through them one at a time manually and actually think out a response. But what's great is that this is baked into the platform and it's connected to every location. And if you're an agency, you can have this for multiple brands, just kind of like how you guys manage it as well. And this is brand new. This came out this last week. And so it's one of those newer things. And I don't know, I just think this was an excellent first step, because this is where you kind of set up the main kind of the core Birdeye platform to be more tailored to your brand and your industry. And, one of the things that we had a question about Google's agentic search. And that's kind of the next phase of this AI era, is the agent world. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And then we can go back to the slides, and I'll go ahead and just pop up the Birdeye architecture here. But that is, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Steve. Is we've seen this jump from LLMs to agents, and you were talking a lot about the OpenAI assistants and things like that. Where do you see, we can get real meta, pun not intended. Where do you see things going in the future when it comes to agents, assistants? These models are now just not in a chat box. They can now start to take actions for you. Where do you see that going in the future?
Man, it's going to get strange. It's going to get strange, but I think so two things when you're mentioning how Birdeye is integrating it, I think that's key. What we're going to start seeing is very functional software that we use every day, starting to integrate AI and different LLMs. It's already strange. Starting to integrate AI and different LLMs into already functional platforms. So I love what Birdeye is doing, because it just improves and enhances what you already do, which should be the purpose of AI. So the way that I see it is, these agents will become hyper personalized. So for example, you'll see e-com become very personalized. If you've ever been to a mall where you probably go to like maybe a luxury brand and you have a personal shopper with you, that will exist for you on your phone now. Very, very soon, that is coming to your phone, where you're asking natively within Android or iPhone that you need certain things, and it will present options to you from a myriad of locations, not just Amazon. And it will do so based on your personal attributes. I think that's going to be huge. And we'll see that being integrated in so many different spaces. I will also see, it's already happening, but AI fatigue is here. So I would say to businesses, start also focusing and developing a personalized approach to your marketing. And what I mean by that is referral streams are going to be incredibly important. Start bridging the gap, or start networking with local businesses. Start creating experience events where you invite customers to come see you. These will become so valuable in the future when people have already been tired with dealing and interacting with AI agents all day long, that the human experience is going to be incredibly elevated, and authenticity is going to be valued at such a high mark. You'll see people start probably moving to more rural locations just to get away from technology. So I do see kind of the world shifting a little bit in terms of, hey, you don't really have a choice but to deal with AI in a way, but now you put way more value in having an event for your business, or having different revenue streams through referrals as well.
And especially, and it's so interesting because I feel like all of this stuff, the way that this agentic search is changing things, it's only going to make your brand a much more, I mean, it's already been so important. I'm a marketer, so brand has always been important for me.
Yeah.
But even from like a small, like local business perspective, your brand prominence is going to be so important because now, like here's a great example is the other day, I'm driving in my truck. It's like a 15, I drive like a 2011 F-150. So it's kind of old. And there's some problems that come up every now and again. And I'm driving down the highway and all of a sudden I have a check service blinker thing come up and it said that my tire pressure sensor had gone out. And I'm driving. And so I hit my chat GPT because I had it set up on my phone where I can just hold the action button and chat GPT voice will pop up. And I'm like, hey, I just got a tire pressure sensor warning, notification. What does that mean? And through the voice and Bluetooth, it's like, oh, it means that your sensor of your tire pressure. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it told me what it was. And I was like, okay, is that something I can do myself? Like, is that like what exactly goes into that? And it said, well, you have to take the wheel off of the tire or the tire off the wheel and do this thing and the other. And I was like, okay, that's too much. Is there a place near me that can do that? And it said, yeah, you're in North Austin. So there's this, and this are available and whatnot. And the gap, which is, I think we're going to be getting to this next part very soon. The gap was instead, so ChatGPT then said, you should call around and get a quote, to figure out the pricing because it can vary. And the next step in, I think, this evolution is ChatGPT can call and get those quotes.
And the only reason sometimes it can't give you the pricing
appointment
is because the pricing isn't available in the structured data sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you. And, it's just going to become super integrated. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not only going to, and even if it's not available with the way voice is going, it's going to be able to call a tire change shop and call them with its voice and say, hey,
for sure.
What's the price for replacing a tire pressure sensor on a 2011 F-150? Great. Are you available this afternoon? And it'll do that for 5 different places and come back to me with those answers. And I can just choose whichever one I want. It'll be awesome. I'm going to go book the appointment for you.
I believe Google has it already.
They just, it's crazy.
Yeah. Where you want to book an appointment at a nail salon, for example. Even if the nail salon doesn't have a direct API for booking appointments on their system, it will call the number and have a direct conversation with these folks to book that appointment. What's going to be crazy is when the other side of that call is also a bot and these bots start interacting with one another. That is going to also happen. It's already happening, by the way. So yes, hyper-personalization is going to happen. It's already happening. The amount of data, stored on your phone right now is insane. So really, it's about leveraging that for your convenience.
It really is. Yeah, for your convenience. Yeah. So we had a couple of questions, and I know we're a little over time. So if you guys have to jump off, totally okay. We're going to have the recording available, but I have 2 questions I want to get to, and then we'll let everybody go. Courtney's asking, is there a way in the platform to send review requests to specific client lists, or is that better just to be done through email? Steve, when it comes to requesting reviews through Birdeye, are you able to decipher who you want to send it to? I know you can send it through email and text, but are you able to?
So we have it actually directly. We have it directly integrated with our system. So it's automatically sending it over email and text after checkout. You can also determine who you don't want to send it to. So if an experience is going awry and you already know something's going to happen, maybe you don't want to request a review from that person. You could do that, but ultimately we send hundreds, if not thousands, of reviews on a daily basis, review requests on a daily basis over text and email. I think that was your question.
And then I think this is a great one for you, Steve. Robert's asking, can you give your thoughts on at what point should smaller companies consider using AI in marketing, keeping in mind that real human interactions will be a differentiator in the AI world now and in the future?
I think with small company, and what do you determine what a small company is? I mean, a small company can be 250 million in revenue a year, but you're talking a small business at the corner It depends. I would say that don't shy away from utilizing AI tools within marketing. And there's different ways this question can be answered, because when you say consider using AI in marketing, you can utilize it to help you to help elevate your brand at scale, maybe on developing a brand strategy. But I think that if you are small enough to pick up a call every single time someone calls, like an actual human, and to actually text people back yourself or someone in your staff, if you have that capability, you will win the game so much quicker than larger companies that unfortunately cannot hire 500, 1,000 people to answer calls. So personalization, especially at the human level, is going to be so key right now, and it's going to allow small companies to, or small businesses to really win. Now, when you're dealing with lead generation that is text based, there, that's a whole other thing, because you could generate hundreds of leads on a daily basis, and to get back to all of those leads so quickly without using any automated tools is going to be very hard. So I would suggest in that case, maybe yes, start leveraging some of the AI tools, but calls especially, I would say that continue having people on the line, or once you start getting thousands of calls, maybe start considering using AI agents for that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think even if you're a small business, you don't have to go full cyborg, right? You can start small and,
Yeah.
just start. One of the things that has helped me really better understand AI as a whole, and as well as how to use it, is just by practicing. I mean,
Yeah.
I will, like, even if you don't think ChatGPT can answer something, or if you don't think you can get a response or output, it it doesn't hurt to try it, because I've discovered so many things that I can do using AI, just because I was like, I'll just throw it in ChatGPT and see what it says.
Yeah.
And I was able to, you can code things, you can build apps. Like last night, I couldn't really sleep, and I was just kind of thinking about this webinar and this discussion, and where AI is going. And one of the things that hit me was like, right now in the world, one of the newer things that's really exploding is coding with
Vibe
AI.
coding.
Vibe coding, exactly. And right now, when ChatGPT released in November 2021, the first 2 or 3 months, it blew up. It was very big and popular, but it wasn't mainstream. And it wasn't quite, a lot of people were like, oh, I've heard of it, but like, I'm not messing around with that stuff, or it's a fad. And that's where we're at right now in that vibe coding, AI coding world. Like people are just now starting to kind of realize like, oh, I can do this, I can do
The
that.
amount
Like
the amount of
it's
businesses
crazy.
being launched on a daily basis from just your average person, non-technical person, leveraging AI tools and learning how to build businesses and actual tech startups, learning how to build these using tools like Claude, ChatGPT, and Google Gemini is insane. And if you don't believe me, do a Reddit search right now for NAN. It's a type of automation tool, and you'll see the thousands and thousands of comments related to people building different systems and automation agents across the board.
Without coding.
Leverage without coding.
Just
I mean,
just fully with
yes,
prompting it
without
like
coding.
you're talking to ChatGPT.
And,
It's
and you
crazy.
can go, you could go the route of coding and leveraging AWS or Azure web apps or something like that. You could go that route, but you could also go something way simpler, where you're just combining different tools and creating an automation. And that is something that I'm actually happy to see, because it's allowing a lot of people to create businesses that they couldn't do so before.
Yeah. Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for staying 9 to 10 minutes late. And thank you to
Yeah.
everyone else who's still tuning in. I really appreciate it. I get carried away sometimes in some of these conversations when the topic is like this. It's like I could talk about it for hours, and I could do a part 2 and 3 to this. I just love talking about it. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope we were able to provide you with some helpful tips and some insights on, what's going on in the world of AI and the world of marketing. There's a lot going on. We only scratched the surface, but definitely feel free to check out the recording. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn. And if you're interested in learning more about how Birdeye works and how the brand AI works, especially if you're in healthcare or, in some of these other industries that you need those good, strong guardrails, definitely let us know. You can either reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can also just let us know in the comments here. We'll have someone reach out. But yeah, I think that's all that we've got for today. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, we'll see you on the
Thank
next
you.
episode of the AI Success Series.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.